This video is about to get very surgical. Everybody a thug till them lights pull up, and everybody got a gun until ICE pull up. A middle finger to the president, cause I ain't too impressed. How the fuck you kicking niggas out? Ain't you niggas guess? So it's death to an ICE truck driver. You shouldn't be. Hey, before I say anything about this outlandish that we about to talk about, okay? Shout out to everybody that's been locked in on the Patreon. I know some of y'all know that a clip of me reacting to Reasonable Doubt went crazy viral on Twitter. And now I'm getting cooked on a daily basis, which to me, I'm a good sport. I think it's funny. You feel what I'm saying? But it sparks a whole lot of conversation around the generational gap for those who was there for Jay-Z and for those who wasn't there for Jay-Z. I will be posting my new reaction to Volume 2 tomorrow on the Patreon, okay? Those reactions end up on the Patreon, and then they make their way to members only, and then they make their way to the public page. So it's going to be a while before these things make it to the public page. So tap in with the Patreon. It's only $5, okay? I'm going to put it in the description, and I ain't going to lie. It's great content. It's amazing. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm saying that because of the reaction that it's getting from so many different people. Some people are arguing in favor of me, saying, you know, and some people are arguing in favor against me. Some want to discredit my hip-hop car, and some think it's just because I missed that time. And boom, it's amazing conversations all over the place. So definitely be the first people that can see these reactions to somebody who wasn't there as I go along my journey of really, really focusing and paying attention to Jay-Z's catalog. Click on the Patreon. It's only $5. You get to react. We drop reactions once a week. I think I'm going to pick it up on that too. But Volume 2 reaction dropping tomorrow, okay? Now, let's get to this, bro. I'm hoping that for all the people that felt a certain way when I said I don't think we should be reacting to this album that's coming out, I hope that y'all can at least understand where I was coming from now, okay? And once again, I don't expect everybody to not react to it. I actually encourage whoever want to react to it to react to it. Like, do you, okay? And I hope that my audience isn't going around and, you know what I'm saying? But once again, everybody is their own person. Everybody got their own autonomy. So I'm not this, you know, mastermind guy who's just, no. I'm giving my perspective, and there's people out there that agree with me, and therefore they're spreading their own personal perspective, okay? But when we see stuff like this, we're not talking about just some guy who's just like a regular artist, okay? Like, this isn't the type of stuff that, you know, you can just look over and be like, oh yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Drake's still this, Drake's still that. It don't make no sense to me, right? Because Drake is trying to convince people now that by technicality, that wasn't his voice on the tailor-made freestyle. He's blaming Tupac for the tailor-made freestyle. He's absolving all of the blame off of himself and putting it onto Tupac. Right? Let me move this so y'all can see what this part says. This error is especially start with respect to tailor-made freestyle, which was not mentioned in the amended complaint, only publicly available for 1 week, and whose contested lyrics are not even Drake's voice. Let's talk about the precedents that could be set here. And it's what I've been talking about this whole time. One of the reasons I will not be covering that album on this page. I will not be reacting to the album. Okay? And it's not like I'm this major voice who can switch things. I understand that. I'm not. But I also have my own autonomy and can make my own decisions. Okay? Number one, the fact that this is leaning and you're trying to put all of this blame onto Tupac Shakur, a man who is no longer here. You're playing with the dead in the first place, right? In my mind, when I see somebody using the voices of another artist and putting their own words, like, that's damn near, like, call me dramatic. That's necromancy to me. Okay? In my personal perspective. All right? it might not look like that today, but imagine 100 years from now, right? And people start talking about AI and AI using other people's voices in order to get certain narratives and certain things across. Do you think people would be, or people will be talking about it the same way we're looking at it now because we're in real time? No. Or let's say this. Let's take what Drake's doing in this song and apply that to the BC and AD and all that different stuff, right? The way they used to speak about things, the way they used to see things. Do you think that they would look at this and say, oh, it was just somebody using AI? No, bro. This is you're using a dead man's voice and likeness in order to push your own word. You're literally giving him words to say and having him in a condescending way damn near disrespect the coast that he represented, right? Disrespect an artist that this is borderline necromancy, bro. Please call me dramatic. Please. Because in my mind, this is still spiritual. This is a spiritual battle here. Okay? This was a spiritual battle in general. I think that plays a role in what was taking place. And the reason why I add these tones of necromancy to the thing is because what's the difference between Drake and the U.S. government, right? When the U.S. government had went into Iraq and they're invading the Sumerian tablets, and now all of the history of these Sumerian tablets are gone. All of the history that was being stored in these temples are gone. These temples are destroyed. You're taking the history of a civilization and hoarding it and using that technology and that knowledge for your own personal gain. Right? What's the difference between that and Drake taking hip hop memorabilia and storing it in his home for malicious intent? Right? I melt down the chains that I bought for your boss. Give a fuck about all of that heritage shit. That is quite literally Christopher Columbus in the flesh. With that type of narrative, that type of tone. Please call me dramatic. This is my perspective. I'm being me. You can disagree with it all you want. What is the difference between that and what Christopher Columbus did when he came to the Americas? When they rewrote the religions, when they took the religions from the indigenous people and gave them their version of Christianity. And their version is key. Because Christianity didn't start with the rewriting that we see today, right? And that's not to discredit the Bible or anything like that, but we have different versions of Christianity that exist prior to, then coming here and using it to pacify the slaves. So in my mind, it's like, what is the difference between somebody saying that they're buying all this hip hop memorabilia and are going to use it to burn it down, to all this different stuff? What is the difference between that and the colonizers that we know today? What is the difference? The colonizers that are studied, that are peddled as heroes for doing the things that they did. What is the difference? If you don't see hip hop as like this spiritual medium that speaks to generations, that speaks to that the ancestors are using to speak to current generations, right? The Negro spirituals advanced. The Negro spiritual passed down generation to generation. The coding in the lyrics so that only the people who understand it within the culture, right? If you view hip hop as this spiritual outlet, as this spiritual portal, as this ancient practice, in a sense, your view of the things that are taking place when stuff like this happens is going to be different. And that's why I am okay. I can say today I am okay with people viewing me as somebody who's doing this and somebody who's doing that, somebody who's a net negative for hip hop commentary or whatever. I'm so fine with that, because in reality, what it is just a difference in perspective. It could be a generational difference. It could be a lot of different things. This whole Jay-Z things that's happening right now has taught me a lot. And I'm so okay with that, because I am personally 100% invested in my perspective on this thing. This ain't just a music genre in my perspective. This is a genre that could cause revolt and change worldwide. We've seen it. And that's because the ancestors are still channeling through the new representation of artists that pop up. Right? It's still channeling. And it's not just hip hop, but all of the genres that we created that, this is why Sinners was such a powerful movie, in my opinion. That one scene where everybody dancing and you see the time going on as the music evolves over time. Okay? In my mind, what is the difference between the things that Drake is doing right now and the people who are popping up and trying to minimize what this thing is? Right? That's what I'm talking about when it comes to Drake and my perspective on Drake. I don't see him any differently than I would see a Christopher Columbus and all these different guys. Okay? Especially when we're talking about songs like Tailor Made Freestyle. That's violation. Right? And it's the reason why so many people felt a certain way when the song came out. Right? The reason why people felt a certain way when the song came out, in my eyes, is because a lot of us felt that the song was spiritually disturbing. Right? Of course, it's one thing to be like, yo, that's disrespectful. You disrespected Tupac. You disrespected Snoop, Boom Boom, and all this different stuff, right? There was multiple conversations being had. Some people were trying to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But I think for a lot of us, even if it wasn't consciously, there was something spiritually disturbing about this song. There was something very spiritually disruptive about this song. And when a lot of people talk about, and I feel like this was the point where the battle made a turn, right? And I think that's because something was disturbed with this song. And I know some of y'all feel what I'm saying, and it's okay if you don't. But there was something spiritually disturbing about this track. And this isn't the first time where Drake has said or done something that felt spiritually disturbing in the essence of hip hop. As a guy who was consistently seeking to buy hip hop memorabilia and destroy it, or store it, or brag about it, or post pictures with it to flex on other artists, this is somebody that's playing around, in my mind, with ancient artifacts. Pharrell's chains, the Boom Boom. In my mind, these are ancient artifacts, just like the chains of the emperors and kings in Africa, right? These are ancient artifacts. At the time, they might not have been seen as such, but as years go by and they're dug up and they're found and they become ancient artifacts that help tell more of the story of a time that we were not a part of. So that's one of the key things that represents a timestamp in hip hop. And Drake understands that, which is why he makes lines like the lines he makes about melting down the and all that different stuff. Right? This is disrespect to the culture. It's I'm bigger than rapping. I'm bigger than the culture. I can do whatever I want and there's nobody that can do nothing about it. Like, that's what it is. Okay? The second thing that I really want to get into, right, is this sets a terrible precedent for anybody who's going to use somebody's voice in AI and wants to be absolved of the responsibility that was written in the lyrics. Right? What if somebody used somebody else's voice to say something insane, to do something insane, to spread an insane narrative, whatever it is, right? And then they're able to just use this court case as an example of why technically that wasn't my voice. Technically that was not me. And this is not even mentioning Drake trying to impede on people's First Amendment. The fact that he wants rap lyrics to be accounted as facts in court, and what that does for artists who rap about their lifestyle in the streets. Right? We're not talking about some regular situation that's going on here, bro. And maybe I'm just being dramatic. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply into it. But I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with anybody that has an opinion on how I view things and how I break things down. I don't know why it bothers you so much, but yeah. Right? So from that perspective, why would I even want to listen to this? Right? And once again, everybody can do what they want to do. But in my world, in my reality, I'm not seeing this as just some artist doing some things to be petty it's deeper than that to me. We're witnessing a new version of, this colonization that happens to black culture, to black music. Right? And that doesn't mean Drake isn't black. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean any of that. It just means that this is his way of doing things. On top of the fact, when we got all of these the J. Cole's of the world, reiterating the narratives that are in this lawsuit. When we got the Kids and all these different guys helping push this idea that black culture ruined hip hop, right? That black people wanting to tear down other black people was what ruined hip hop, even though hip hop is alive and well. Like the times are a lot more sensitive than people would like to admit, and we got to be honest about that. We're having conversations about things right now. But it's like, who knows what's going to happen and what's going to take place in the near future and how that affects hip hop and the way people are able to express their art going forward. Of course, they would want to be able to minimize what you're able to say in these songs. Do you see the state that our country is in right now? The direction that we are possibly heading in right now, that we've been heading into for a long time? No matter who was in office? We've been moving in this direction for a long time, and one of the only things that stands in front of that is the free expression, the freedom of speech in this genre. Facts. And that's the one thing that Jay-Z was saying in that interview that I 100% agree with. There's an agenda to silence this thing. And I think the reason why there's an agenda to silence this thing is because they know the agenda that's coming next and what's coming up. And if hip hop is able to get off what it's been able to get off for years, it stands as a threat to the potential agenda that's being put in place. And it advances and limits the real musicians out there that have something to say. And it amplifies the people who have nothing to say, who won't challenge the establishment, who won't challenge thought, who will pacify the audience with their music. We got to keep it real. Okay? Blaming Tupac in the year 2026, 30 years after a man has passed, is outrageous. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. All right? But hey, man, I appreciate y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here. A lot of people have been asking me for more music and stuff like that. It's a couple things that I got to take care of before we continue Okay, but that will be continued very shortly, and I'm about to be dropping a lot more than y'all expect. Okay, so stay tuned. On top of that, please get that Patreon, man, because this series is gonna be amazing. I want y'all to be the first ones to witness everything that's happening, because that reasonable doubt reaction came out a while ago in the Patreon. You feel what I'm saying? Due to everything that's been going on with the Jay-Z conversation, people have been subscribing and stuff like that. Y'all get in there too, man. Get in there, man, because it's going to be amazing. I've been stumbling upon a lot of pieces of the history that Jay-Z has provided, and it's dope. It's dope. So y'all stay tuned in. You feel what I'm saying? Tune in. If you feel like my perspective on this thing is less valuable now because of my lack of appreciation for Jay, I'm okay with that, honestly. But if you're willing to dive in and witness my journey with Jay-Z's music, pull up. $5. That's it. $5. All right? I'll be putting the Patreon in the description. Matter of fact, I'll tag it right here too, so you can grab onto it. Check out my new song, F Ice. You feel what I'm saying? For everybody that's out there, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And y'all have a great day, all right?